Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we are going a step back to Old Classics Day. Mike will be proud of us.
I keep telling Sarah we should do some more old things, because if we have a younger generation tuning in, listening to our podcast, they may not be aware of some of these things,
quite
which
right.
were done in the dark recesses of the past. And I don't think this one is unknown, but we think it's worthwhile because one of our heroes made it.
Okay, and sort of started it. So the movie's called...
No, Roger doesn't star in it.
Well, I didn't say him. I said some famous faces have been in it.
Produced and directed it.
I meant some famous faces.
And a famous face is in it.
Okay, the movie is called The Little Shop of Horror, which was released in 1960 version.
Not the 1986 version with Steve Martin and crowd, which was a musical.
Yeah. Before we go any further, I want to point out to you, audience members, that some of you guys may get the impression this is a Jack Nicholson production.
No,
it's not 100% true.
No, it didn't say Nat Nicholson, but they try to make out, a lot of the advertising for this try to make out he was the main star of it.
Nah.
He had a bit role for about 1 minute, maybe 1.5 minutes in the whole movie.
Yeah, he would just only appear as a customer for a dentist, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. He wasn't anything important in the movie, apart from he had a very funny role.
I'm just pointing that out to our audience members, because people have been misled by the advertisement here and there.
Some of the DVDs and VHS tapes that came out had Jack Nicholson face on the front cover, trying to make out that Jack Nicholson plus these other people were in it.
Yeah, plus a lot of nobodies starts from stage
these
and
other nobodies were the main actors. Mm-hmm. So what's that make Jack Nicholson back in those days?
Shop liver.
Shop liver. No, I love Jackie.
Although he has made a name for himself not back then, a big face then, but nowadays from the 90s, 80s, and today's standards, his name and his face has been etched in everyone's brains and minds.
I think the first thing I saw Jack Nicholson in was Easy Rider, I think. He played a strange alcoholic sort of accountant or an attorney or something or other. And then later on I saw him in, The Raven? And there was another one about the same period where he played a soldier, and I can't remember the name, but he came back to an old house, and I think Boris Karloff was there and everything, so I just can't remember the name of the movie at the moment. But that was about a similar period. And he was a very fine young actor back in those days, and he just got better. And better.
The roles got bigger and bigger, and he became more noticeable.
And more serious and stuff. He was a very talented man,
And I gotta admit though, when he was young, like when he did this movie, you could see the Joker smile and the raised eyebrow that keeps appearing in the movie.
The inner Jackie's coming out.
The inner Jackie. Oh, I should mention there was another person in this that has made his name not as a major star, but as a co-star in a lot of movies. Who has his face is well known. Obviously, he plays in this one a man who eats flowers. I know, weird, right?
Wait, no, people eat flowers. He's one of the original vegetarians.
Yeah. But he's not a bad actor, and I think he's been a regular in some of Roger Corman's movies.
No, I think he's been in a couple. Actually, some of these people have been in other productions, I think. Anyway, here we go. As we said before, produced and directed by Roger Corman. Screenplay was by Charles Griffith. Okay, I'll go for the stars in a minute. I don't know what this box office at. However, it was made on a budget for about $30,000, $32,000, something around there. Okay?
Right.
Box office admissions, and it says France. So this is only in France, mind you. 25,000 box office. Ooh. So 25,000 people went to see the film, and it says France. So you start to wonder how many people saw it worldwide.
Yeah, and how much?
How much did it actually do on home media, VHS tapes, and then DVDs, then redone as Blu-rays, and probably the odd Laserdisc has been made, and blah, blah, blah. And it's been around for so long, and it's still out there.
Yeah.
Why, if it was a crappy movie, why make it a Blu-ray?
It's become a sort of
Cultish, maybe?
cultish classic type movie.
It was a B movie. We normally do a post-mortem at the end, but it was a B movie that I wouldn't say it was so bad it was good, but it had something to it. It was so cheesy. It was funny.
Yeah.
And then that's real funny.
Yeah. The guy who plays the lead character in it makes me think of Jerry Lewis, the way his movements,
similar style,
and his behavior patterns. We're expected to see Jerry Lewis pop up in this movie, but he didn't.
But he's similar style. Anyway, here we go. I shall run through the actors.
Yes,
some of them, or not all. There we go. Jonathan Hayes, Haze, plays Seymour Krelboind. He's a guy who develops a new plant. He's a shop assistant in a flower shop.
Yeah.
Jackie Joseph, that's Jackie, a lady, plays Audrey Fulquad. She is a shop assistant in the same shop and a love interest of Seymour's.
And even though she's a brunette, she seems like a dumb blonde in this one.
Good typecast here. Now, a guy called Mel Wells, Wells, plays Gravis Mushnick. He's the boss of the flower shop. I think I know his name from somewhere. I just can't pick it at the moment. Now, Dick Miller is Burson Fouch. He's the flower reader, I think. I won't go through all the other people, though.
Yeah, most of them are just one-offs.
They're just one-offs and a bit actors,
and
but they're the main people.
You may see them pop in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Because this is like a 1 hour movie, guys. It's roughly that. I mean, it's not a very long movie. I was hoping it would be a longer movie. A lot of suspenseful scenes, a little bit more death kills here and there. But, nah.
Yeah,
it was mostly like a lot of mistakes, like someone has dropped dead or something like that, or someone just fell into the monster's stomach and was not aware of it and got eaten that way.
Hey, there is one thing I just noticed in the credits. Right down the bottom, it's got a guy called Robert Coogan, uncredited as a tramp. On this one, I was wondering whether he was related to Jackie Coogan. He was an actor back in those days.
I'll take your word for it.
Anyway.
Maybe.
It
isn't a common name, guys.
Well, no, but Coogan is in Hollywood. Again, well, maybe the same family, so.
But who knows?
Anyway, I can't think of anything else I want to say before we start telling the story. But it's a B movie. It was made as a B movie, so it's interesting enough to review, based on the fact that it's a Roger Corman production.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even though Roger Corman's made his legacy well known in both Vincent Price movies and independent stuff, but he does sort of inspire the next generation a lot.
He inspires me. I mean, Roger and George Romero, they were kings back in their time. They made some seriously good movies for seriously inexpensive budgets, and they made the best of the dollars. How's that?
Well, they didn't waste a buck or even a shoot date.
They made the most of the time and the money. So anyway, these guys are really the heroes of
the industry.
Bygone days. That's a good line, isn't it? Bygone
anyway,
days.
so I might as well get into this movie.
Yeah.
So
go for it.
Okay, the story begins. A detective narrates the little city village or city
a little town, city,
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, in probably New York, I think, maybe, I'm not sure. And he narrates about this crime that was committed, and we see it as a bit of an illustration etching, would you say? An illustration of the town.
The opening credits, it's all done in sketches. Yeah.
And then we move in on the florist. Yeah, that's it. And it's a rundown area, not expensive. It's one of those rundown areas that will only say the rent is high and not very much. You cannot buy anything very much with such low prices, stuff like that. It's a cheap area. In other words,
It's a poor area.
It's a poor area.
Like a slum area.
It's a slum area. Hell's Kitchen, if you will. No, that's not it.
No, just leave it alone. You don't know what you're talking about now. Just say it's...
Yeah. Anyway, so Seymour works in a florist, and the guy in charge is he's annoyed that things are going so well, and Seymour is the result of their bad luck.
Well, he's not helping.
He's not helping.
No,
He's a very clumsy type of guy. He even made a mess with some of the orders and stuff like that, and he is dead weight according to the owner. And the owner wants to fire him and put an end to their bad luck. But then Seymour, out of the blue, says, I have this plant that you may want to display in your store. Maybe it would, you may be able to people will buy it or something like that, and hopefully it will turn things around.
And make the store famous. People will come there and buy all the other flowers as well.
Yeah, so he goes home. He has this plant. He got it from a Chinese person, I think he said it was.
He got it, but you have to listen to the way. I knew this Chinese guy, yada yada, and it went on and on and on and on. And they found the seed growing somewhere.
And he says that he doesn't know the plant's origin or the what species of plant.
But later on, he says he knows the origin of the plant.
He decides to name it after the girl he likes, Audrey. The shop owner's daughter, I think she is. When you say it, Mike?
Sorry?
The shop owner's daughter, Audrey.
Oh, no.
I think she is.
No.
Yeah, I think she is.
No.
Why?
Different last name? She's single?
Yeah, I said she's the shop owner's daughter.
My notes here say he staffed by himself and 2 employees. Oh. Audrey, full quad, is not a mushnick.
And why did he eat dinner with her?
Because he's sucking out to want to take her out for dinner.
Gee, I meant the owner.
I just said that.
He was even treating her like his daughter, okay?
He is sucking out to he wanted her, okay?
It doesn't seem like that, Mike. I don't feel a lovey-dovey moment between them. I don't see otherwise he would have said, no, Seymour, you cannot date her.
No, he's a boss to take one of his employees out, trying to make time with her, okay?
And I think that is his daughter. I believe so, because it seems like she was very familiar with him.
Well, she's had a name change to disassociate herself with her father because they had a different last name.
I don't know if it's maybe her niece or his daughter, okay? So, anyway, moving on.
Get on with it.
So, anyway, so Seymour gets the plant, and his mother is, she kind of suffering from a lot of...
She's a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
She thinks she's sick when she's not.
Yeah, and she even makes her meals out of using cough syrup and stuff like that. Anyway, Seymour gets his plant and he takes it to the florist, and we know right away. He says the plant is unwell. Like he's even fed it the fertilizers, gave it proper water from whatever, but for some reason it's not getting any better.
It needed something else.
As he's in the forest on his own, he gets his finger cut, and a few drops, entered the
inside the plant.
Inside the plant.
Yeah, well, fruits opening. Yes, and yummy.
Yeah, and then later on, he worked it out that this plant needs blood, so he starts cutting his fingers, and soon enough, the plant has grown a bit, and then we start seeing, it starts attracting people, actually, when you think about it. And people start coming to the forest, even just to even look at the plant or even asking, even 2 girls who are from high school, I think, were asking for some flowers for a float, I think.
Yeah, they're going to do a float, some parade, and they wanted to spend about $2,000 back in those days. That was a lot of money.
Yeah, and the florist, the owner, says this is a great opportunity, and he even starts calling Seymour his adopted son or something like that.
Yeah, sucking up.
Suck.
Told you.
Anyway, soon enough, the plant is starting to look a bit sickly again, and Seymour is left to try to ponder what is he going to do. He cannot feed any more blood to the plant. And, of course, the plant starts talking at this point. He starts saying, feed me, feed me.
Baby's first words. Oh, isn't that lovely?
Seymour then, after hours, goes for a walk. And as he's walking the train stations,
It's a shunting yard, not the train station. Shunting yard.
Shunting yard. And he then picks up a rock and he's about to throw it at a can, but actually hits a man who falls onto the tracks and he gets run over by a train.
Yeah, so bits and pieces later.
Yeah, and Seymour takes the pieces back and he starts worrying that he just murdered a man, even though it wasn't intentional. Of course, he then, the plant starts asking, feed me, and soon enough, Seymour gets the idea of putting the leftover bits of the man inside the plant.
And guess what? Plant likes it. Yummy.
Yum. And the owner, after coming back from having dinner, he was getting some money from the till, but then he notices Seymour taking some of the bits from the bag into the Audrey plant.
Audrey, the plant.
And he starts freaking out, like he cannot divulge what he just seen.
And he had trouble reconciling it, and he couldn't tell anybody, because obviously.
Then the next day, he sees the plant has grown a little bit bigger.
And it looked healthier.
Yeah. And of course he wonders, he then approaches Seymour and asks him what he may have seen and saw that night. Of course, I think he knows what he's seen and he can't, and all that stuff. And soon enough, let me see, I think more and more people start showing up at the store, and later on that night, Seymour is told to watch the place again, I think, and I'm not sure how it happens, but let me see, what happens again? Oh yeah, he takes the girl out for a date, obviously, and so it's up to the owner to look after the plant this evening, and there he watches the plant, and the plant continues to growl, feed me. And soon enough, a man comes into the store, even though it's after hours, it's closed.
Tries to rob him.
And tries to rob him. Of course, he denies him that there's no money in the till, not too much money. It's about $30. And most of the people who came into the store were more curious about the plant less than buying the flowers in the store. So he tells a bit of a fib and tells him that the money is inside the plant. So the man goes over to the plant, knocks on it, and it opens its mouth. And as the man peers inside, he gets snap.
Gobbled up by the plant.
And the owner starts grieving that, look what he done, all that stuff. He even said he didn't plan on feeding the plant, but now he's sort of an accomplice to the plant unintentionally.
Yeah, working for the plant.
Anyway, the next day, the plant has grown quite a bit bigger. And
several feet tall now.
And a famous florist person from a club, I guess, wants to reward Seymour for his plant for being the most rarest species of plant. And there's still one other surprise I should mention. There are these flowers that haven't been blooming yet. And
the flowers on Audrey too, the plant, were getting ready to bloom, and Seymour says, well, I think they're going to be blooming tomorrow
How
afternoon.
he knows this, we don't know.
Well, he's must study up on plants. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, soon enough, I think Seymour wants to go out again with his love interest. Of course, the owners tells him, you are going to watch this plant, yada, yada, yada. So Seymour and his date, they actually dine in.
Yeah, have a picnic at the store.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And as they're dining on peanut butter sandwiches,
Why not?
Yeah.
What's wrong with peanut butter?
Nothing. They start talking, and discussing plans for the future, stuff like that. I just so you guys know, as I said before, the Audrey the human lady is like, as I said, she's a dumb blonde in this movie.
As a brunette, though.
It's even though she's a brunette. And as I said before, you can never judge a book by their cover, no matter how blonde they are. Anyway, as they're talking, the plant keeps talking, feed me, feed me, feed me. Of course, Seymour brushes off and says that he's just doing ventriloquism. Is that right, Mike? That's his fib. He says he's just saying it. Of course, she doesn't think it's really funny and interesting. So she decides to leave. And of course, as the plant continues complaining about it's hungry and wants to be fed, soon enough, Seymour tries to brush it off and tries to walk away. But then the plant uses its mind powers,
control, and hypnotize him to go out and get some more food.
Of course, Seymour does this in a comedy routine, which we can only imagine.
A bit like a Jerry Lewis job.
And he wanders the streets non-stop, looking for food. Unfortunately, he passes the same prostitute several times.
Yeah, it's quite funny. He keeps walking past her, just trying to get his attention. He walks straight past her, and in the end, she knocks him out or knocks him down or something?
Well, he suggests that after a few failed attempts, she finally convinces him to take him back to his place. And of course, he decides he should flip a coin.
He didn't have a coin, so he flipped a rock, and guess where the rock ended up?
Crushing
on her head.
Yeah, and this upsets Seymour, so he takes the body back, and soon enough, the plant's grown again, obviously, and it gets to the day that Seymour gets the award for best plant or something. And just so you guys know, there's some police guys wandering the scene, like they're trying to figure out the scene is there's a lot of missing people. Maybe not lots of people. We only know there's a train worker, the robber, and the missing streetwalker, and that's about it. Not a big kill count. If James A. Janice would have covered this one.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, so he eventually, as he's everyone's surrounds the plant, and they make the announcement of giving him the award, and they watch as the flowers on Audrey start blooming, and we see inside the flowers, the center, we see the faces of the victims of the from the plant.
Audrey too has gobbled up.
Yeah, Seymour freaks out. All the other people freak out. His mom faints and stuff like that, and the policemen do a chase scene in a funniest way, you know.
Yeah, it's a very comedy chase scene. Yeah,
it's a very weird one where they're running down subway stations, getting run back from the subway station, being chased by children. I don't know what that's about, but it doesn't matter. It's too funny.
It worked.
Yeah. Oh, I should mention, in between these scenes, we do get to see. I should mention the other victim who was gotten in was the dentist in the dentist.
Oh, sorry, yeah, he killed the dentist accidentally, but we won't go back and talk about the dentist.
Yeah, see the dentist. That's where Jack Nicholson comes in. He plays a patient to the dentist.
And
let's just say he got
accidentally killed. So our little man, Seymour, pretended to be the dentist and
gave Jack Nicholson the feeling of his lifetime.
Yeah, without any anaesthetic.
Because he liked pain. And you could see, when you look at his face in that scene, you could see the Joker appear in his face. Yeah. Even though he would say...
You know, I think a lot of that Joker in the Batman movie was Jack just camping it up and having a wonderful time with it.
Yeah, smart man. Anyway, back to the chase scene. He gets chased by the detectives into the subway and into a tie wrecking yard. I don't know what
a tire place. Yeah,
tire place. And soon enough, they couldn't catch him, and Seymour arrives back at the florist,
it's now empty.
The plant continues demanding food.
Seymour's had a gutful.
Yeah, he takes up a
knife.
And he climbs inside Audrey
and I'm going to kill you. He climbs inside
giving
the plant.
her a meal that she'll never forget in a hurry.
He climbs inside. I would have killed the plant from outside.
Of course.
But no.
Of course, the people soon arrive back at the florist. His mother and human Audrey is there. And they all look at the plant and they see that the final blooming flower is Seymour, and he says sorry, and then the whole plants of Audrey, they wilt or just flop down. Meaning, in other words, Audrey the plant has died.
Maybe. But he might have killed the plant. It was slowly dying. I don't know, but it looked like it was.
Then we get the end card, and that's the end of the movie.
I didn't mean it, and that was it.
That's it. Even though, as I said before, this movie is not a Jack Nicholson movie. It's just
it's been portrayed in the advertising Jack Nicholson movie, but it's not. It's not.
He had only one segment, and
very short one.
And that's a very short one.
We even missed it to a certain degree.
Even though I was running really quickly into the story, I was more focused on the story than on the funny one-liners or two-liners or three-liners, or even the one segment where it deals with the crazed dentist who doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
As I said before, it's I thought it was more comedy than horror when I think about this.
It was a comedy.
Yeah.
When I say it's a comedy horror, it's a comedy with a horror theme.
Yeah.
They say it's a horror comedy. It's a horror movie with some comedy in it.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of difference here.
I know.
But it's more of a comedy. And it was made as a B movie on a skinny budget. Today's budget would have been about $250,000, $260,000. That's not a lot of money for a movie. But the funny part is that it was funny. It was so bad. I mean, there's not saying it's so bad it was good. Well, it was teeter-tottering around that part saying, how bad can this get? It was funny. It wasn't bad enough to write it off, but it had enough life in it and interesting to keep it interesting. How's that? Yeah.
I do think, as I said before, there's some just one-liner stuff, mostly like the bits with the cheerleaders the girls from the school, and the scene with the man who likes flowers to eat and stuff like that. And there's even a lady in this movie who's from a funeral home who keeps on getting flowers for dead.
No, she's not. No, she's a lady who goes, oh, my uncle died, and my so-and-so died. No, she's a very unfortunate lady. Everybody she knew was dying, so she came and getting flowers all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, my Uncle Fred died, and blah, blah, blah.
Well,
whatever, you know the type,
Yeah, it's not funny to...
Now,
that's not a very, very funny one, considering we lost some friends of ours.
No, it was funny in the movie. Forget it.
It was funny in the movie, obviously.
Lord, please shut up.
Anyway, what's the reception? Is there a reception in this movie?
Bloody good.
I'd like to hear that.
There you go.
What?
Bloody good? No. Oh, okay.
I would like to hear what the reception like, even though most of it back then would have been hard to cover, considering it would have been years ago.
Well, they won't have the old ones here, okay? Right, because a lot of this be current reception. Okay. A film's critical reception was largely favourable. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, it had an approval rating of 92%.
Okay.
Variety wrote, the acting is pleasantly preposterous. Horticulturists and vegetarians will love it.
That's
Jack Nicholson recounting the reaction to a screening of the film states that the audience laughed so hard I could barely hear the dialogue. I didn't quite register it right. I don't know what it meant. It was as if I had forgotten it, and it was a comedy since. It was if I had forgotten it was a comedy since the shoot. Whatever. I got all embarrassed because I never really had such a positive response before. So everyone loved it so much as laughed through the dentist skit in it. And it was so short, And he's
How can he not forgot that? Seeing as there was a funny.
He's made a lot of movies, so yeah. Anyway, now here's one. In his book, Comedy Horror Films, Chronological History, 1914 to 2008, Bruce Hallenbeck called the film one of Corman's gems.
Corman's gems.
An idea was born on a night night on the town, and the thing is, when they decided on having a man-eating plant as the main beastie in it, they were having a few drinks at the time, so they might have been having a good night in the town because they were just kicking ideas around. And out came Audrey 2, the man-eating plant. So yeah, it's just, what can one say? I mean, it's a B movie which, if it was made today, no one would probably look at it.
Yeah.
But because it's what it is and who made it, it's a damn fine film to add to one's collection.
Yeah, when I told Mike about the one that was remade years later, he didn't believe me that it was a musical.
No,
and then I actually explained to him that it was.
What I said is I didn't know it was a musical. I knew there had been a stage musical, but I didn't know whether the movie, which I hadn't seen before, was a remake or a copy of the musical stage production. So I didn't know it was, but because I hadn't seen it, so I didn't think it was. I thought, what a waste. But they went over the top for the second movie, so I wouldn't even watch the second movie unless you want to.
Unless you want to watch the creature win.
Yeah, and it's totally ridiculous. It got out of control. They did too much with it. A simple little story, and they destroyed it.
Yeah. I'm only glad that there was no one. There's no present one now. I mean, I don't think they can capture that particular period. Nah. You know, then they would have done back in years ago, obviously, because considering that back then in the 60s, the 60s would have been, it would have been. I mean, when the people capture the 60s, they always try to go for a very blah look to it when it comes to it. Now, it's not. I mean, it's not. Like they try too hard. Like they try to make every single woman in the 60s look like like they're wearing their hair in very big overdone, like perms. Yeah. Even though
straight out of the beauty salons.
And wearing dresses that look like they ought to look like they're wearing bell dresses.
Whatever.
Even though that was the style back then.
To what market? Yeah.
Go on.
Now, I was just going to get back to some of the pre-production and stuff on a few things. They combined dark comedy with fast, incorporated Jewish humour. Obviously, it might not appeal to everybody.
Mazel tov.
A little shot of horrors was shot on a budget of about $28,000 back then, about $250 to $260 today's money. The interiors they used were often a previous movie which hadn't been taken down, so that saved a few dollars.
Oh, that would have saved a few.
Yeah.
Handy.
Now here it is. The interior's being shot in 2 days. And this is what I keep saying to some people. If everything's set up and ready to rock and roll and you don't do too many retakes, and you can get into it pretty fast. And most of the stuff was in the shop.
Well, considering the fact back then, this was before digital, and they and whatever filming you had, and no matter how many takes you had to do, you had to be careful how much filming you did back then. Because back then it was all film reels. It's on those.
They know what film reels are, wet film.
And some of those things would have cost a great deal of money.
You had to buy the film, you had to pay for the developing, and then when you had a look at the developing, you said, I didn't like that. So there's a bit of a problem. But Roger Corman knew what he had, and he saw what was going on. I said, that's a good one. That's good. I'll do a retake there. And he got through 2 days for all those internal shots in the shop. Probably the police station where those two policemen were. What other internals? The restaurant, cafe, whatever it was.
Yeah, and the main footage would have been at the florist. Obviously.
Yeah, that's it in 2 days.
And the rest of them were outdoor shots, like when they had
the chase scene and when the Seymour's at the train shunting gardening through the rock and hit a bottle and hit a guy in the head and killed him. That sort of stuff, yeah.
And then there's the bits where they're very brief, where he's walking in the city area,
walking down the street,
which would have been, would have been done very briefly, because considering the fact they probably were filming at a very busy time, like rush hour or something like that, and there were real people just, casually just getting ready to go to the shops or going to work, stuff like that. Yeah. And so they picked a particular time to do a bit of filming. I imagine at the time they, just like what you said about Ed Wood, they didn't have a permit. Run.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I don't know if Roger Corman did it that way, guerrilla filming, I think they call it, but. If you're going to do a real quickie, and you don't have too many people hanging around, actually even today that's a lot easier with digital cameras. You can have somebody walking down the street and you can be in a car just going along the road next to them, taking some footage, and no one would know you're making a film. Mm-hmm. So it's going to use a DSLR or a small movie camera. Anyway. I can't think of too many things to say about this.
Me neither. Considering the fact that this movie has become a cult classic and has been well known throughout filmmaker history, and more than a lot of people probably keep going back to it for inspiration for black comedy references, or just comedy, or even horror suspense. Well, not really. Actually, this movie barely has horror suspense in this one. In fact, it seemed to be more focused on the comedy side than more the horror side. Yeah. Anyway, go on, Mike. You had something up your sleeve there. I could hear.
Okay. He made this movie, I believe, in about 3 days, all up, I think.
3 days. Ooh.
And he did it because he was on a bet to see if he could
wager.
Do it.
Wow. So, I bet they.
I bet you can't do that.
Yeah, but I can imagine it would have been difficult, considering he had to arrange it with the actors and stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what kind of budget he had at the time, considering. Yeah. Anyway, so he was wagered to do it for 3 days?
Yeah, because another movie had been done in similar, and he said, I'll do it, yeah. And he did. So he was very fast at it, but the point is, everybody was rehearsed before he went into filming. I mean, a lot of people do, I know my lines, but they've they've done walkthroughs as well, probably. They know what they're going to do. So when they walk on set, you're going to walk through there, do that, say those words. You're going to fall over, do so and so, whatever it's going to be. It was already practiced, and they knew what they're going to do. So when filming came about, it was less chance. Some people would go in there and say, let's take another take. That didn't quite work out properly, yada, yada, yada. But these people were already rehearsed before they actually started turning the cameras on. So they did quite. I'm intrigued with guys like Corman and Romero and other people of their ilk going back in those days, because they did on a skinny budget and very limited time frames in many cases. So that's why Roger Corman movie has been reviewed at this point in time. Now, I'm going to mention Roger Corman a bit more here.
Me too.
Because my first experience of Roger Corman movies, and I didn't even know they were Roger Corman movies, is when I was watching these horror movies when I was a kid. And I was watching things like Raven and other movies like that. And I found out later on, Roger Corman made them. And I love Vincent Price. And these movies with Vincent Price's, I'd say his Shakespearean-type dramatic acting and his sense of comedy and comedic timing made these movies really, really good. So he had a good movie that Corman puts together with a fine cast to bring them to life, and you get a guy like Vincent Price icing on the cake. And I grew up with such sort of movies. All those what Black Cat was it? That was on. I can't remember all the movies. There were several movies he made, and that's what I started cutting my teeth on when it came to Roger Corman. Then I found some of the earlier stuff when he Highway Dragnet and other things, and you go, wow.
Yeah, when I was thinking,
he's versatile.
Yeah,
and
when
comedy.
when I was looking at this movie, Mike, when you mentioned Dragnet, like you said,
Highway Dragnet, yeah.
that when they did the opening for this movie, it made me think of Dragnet.
No, that's a different show.
I know, I just meant like the opening where the detective is narrating, this is my city, yada yada, and a lot of weird cases, stuff like that. But that's where I think of.
Well, they did a lot of narrations back in those days.
Yeah.
You have a TV program like, this is my city, these are my... They do that. And some movies start off with a narrator or voiceover, introducing the backstory or something, rather than setting the scene.
It's weird that...
They don't do it as much nowadays.
Yeah, that's true, because it's mostly to do with telling a story with... actions or atmosphere.
Yeah, but back in those, they'll turn around and say, we're going to tell you a story. Once upon a time, it was three bears, and blah, blah, and then it rolls into the story. Yeah,
it's mostly to do with atmosphere nowadays. About, telling a story through actions and the shots. Like, if you were outside of a school, there, that's where the story takes place, mostly. If it takes place outside your house, that means the story starts there, obviously. And... vice versa with all sorts of movies. It doesn't need a narrator to tell you where the story takes place. It just needs a few good shots to tell you where it takes place. Right, Mike? Yeah. Anyway, go on. You got something up your sleeve.
I was going to say, I was looking at some notes here, and they just, everything was just pre-lit. They just walked into the sets here, and they just plugged in the cameras, went, woof, that was it. We're finished now, bye. And they're just... I just can't imagine walking into a set like these guys had all set up with the actors. Walk in, walk out.
What was the wager? I mean, the details of the wager.
Time factor.
Oh, I see. So it's...
You remember that Not of This Earth, that movie?
Yes.
I think, was that a Roger Corman one as well?
Yeah, that was a Roger Corman one.
He did that, and someone wagered somebody later on that they could make a copy of his in several days like Corman. I mean, they did the remake, was that Michael York?
There was actually two other versions, but I'm not sure. But I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
The first one we saw, and there's another one, and Michael York might have been the last one.
Oh yeah, the Michael York
one. But the second one was done. They did it on a skinny budget in a very, very short period of time. And it wasn't as good as Roger Corman's because they were trying to copy somebody and it didn't have the right feel.
Yeah, I gotta admit, whenever I think about the new one with Michael York, I think it was just
wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad, but some of the dialogue in it was like they were not even trying to be real.
But it wasn't. But they're taking it from, I'd say, the 50s brought into the 80s, but it didn't have an 80s feel to it.
Yeah. Well, the 90s anyway.
No, I think it's 80s,
I mean,
90s.
the last one with Michael York was actually done in the 90s.
Early 90s?
Yeah.
It didn't have the feel for it. It just felt like it was, we're doing the 1950s, 60s piece. It didn't quite...
The one you're talking about is would have been the one that was done in the 80s where Roger Corman's wife, was the producer on set for it. At least that's what I've read.
Yeah, whatever.
I think.
It wasn't bad, but that was a bit of that was another bet job to see if somebody else can do it just as good as he could.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it was a really crummy job, considering the fact how lazy.
No, they did it. It was a bit like doing a tribute to him, you'd say. So they had to go, see if they go, and they did it. Yeah.
It's just like when they did.
But they did copy everything. Yeah.
It's just like when you look at that Psycho tribute film they did, where in that one they tried to copy everything, and we couldn't even know whether it was meant to be a modern day or...
They had so many problems with it. Didn't know it was supposed to be period and modern. Yeah, the costume person didn't know what era they were getting the clothes for. Yeah, they're trying to make a remake of it as a tribute, fan-based, if you will, to a certain degree. Who was in it? That was...
I know who...
I know the actors.
I know the actors,
I've got a mental block at the moment.
I know faces, but I don't know too many...
I know that the lead... and the girl, I just can't remember. Yeah. I got a mental block. He passed away recently, I think.
And...
Anyway, what I was going to say is...
Go on.
let's stop dwelling on it and let's grade it.
I can't help it, Mike. I would have loved it if they could have made it a little bit better. Maybe put their own suspense, not someone else's suspense on it.
We're not working on Psycho now. We're working on Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay, so...
Let us grade it.
Okay,
now,
so...
I am going to give us a good grading, even though it's a B... But it was made as a B movie, so I'm going to grade it as a B movie and not comparing it to an A movie.
A.
Okay, right. So, for what it is, yes, I think it is a memorable movie made by Roger Corman. Mm-hmm. Best movie in the world? Definitely not. However, it's worth a look. It's a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly.
The acting is, I wouldn't say bad. It's average acting.
Yeah.
But it's good. It works for the movie.
Yeah, a lot of people have often told me in the past, guys, when it comes to making horror movies or comedies or whatever movie you're making, it's always good to go back and check out old movies. That's what I've been advised
you can
by.
You can learn by old movies. Say, oh, that worked. Oh, that didn't work. And
yeah.
But something in this, the magic is in this, and even the cheesy. I wouldn't say bad acting. I'll just say it's not intense acting. It's just laid back, almost slapstick humour like a Jerry Lewis movie, but not quite as polished. You know?
Yeah.
There's something about it. It works. So I'm going to give this, grading it as a B movie in its own genre, I'm going to give it 8.5, maybe 8.5. Yeah, 8.5.
I'm going to give it. I think I'm going to give it an. I'm going to give it 8.5 too.
Yeah, okay. Now, where do you get it? eBay. There are plenty for sale, new and used.
Right.
Amazon, yes, you can rent it.
Yeah.
And there are some for sale. Be careful, though, for two things. There are VHS copies out there. There is probably Laserdisc out there. It is an old movie. Now,
and don't be confused by the picture with Jack Nicholson. He's not the star.
It's got different covers.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember, it's The Little Shop of Horrors, 1960. There is another movie which came out in 1986 called Little Shop of Horrors, which is the musical version with Steve Martin and other people in it. So, just be careful when you go looking. Remember, The Little Shop of Horrors, 1960. And people, they might say, oh, Jack Nicholson's the main star. He's not. But Jack Nicholson, Jonathan Hayes, Jackie Joseph, Mel Wells, and Roger Corman was the producer-director. Use that. You won't go too far wrong, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this is definitely a movie worth seeing. But don't expect it to be an A movie.
Yeah, and don't expect to see Jack Nicholson for the entire thing.
No, he's only in a bit, about a minute and a half.
Yes.
Maybe 2 minutes tops.
Yeah, as I said before, he plays I would say a co-star role.
Well, he was not even a co-star. He was a cameo almost.
Okay, cameo.
He came in there. He's going to be a patient to the dentist, and that was it. And he said, okay, do my job here. I don't, no painkillers. I like pain, whatever. And then he walked out to the office.
His mouth full of fillings.
With all his fillings and broken teeth and everything. That was it, finished. So, yeah, that was it. So he wasn't doing anything major in the movie, but it's probably one of the funniest bits in it. Like a skit in the middle of the show, you know.
Yeah, so don't expect him to appear in all of it.
But
guys.
Jackie was good. Jackie's always good.
Just remember the following leads are what was the following leads? Who plays Seymour and
Jonathan Hayes.
Yeah, Jonathan Hayes. That he's the lady,
Jackie Joseph and Mel Wells, the boss.
Yeah, and the guy who eats the flowers, who appears in a couple of scenes.
Was that Dick Miller?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah, they're more the leads. They appeared in a lot more much more than Jackie.
Yeah. They kept the show together.
Yeah.
They
kept
and the plant.
Yeah, baby. Who does the voice for the plant? I'm curious about who that.
You would ask me that, wouldn't it? I got it here written down somewhere. The plant. Okay, where is it?
I would have thought it was the director.
No, it's not. I don't think. Where is it? Where is it? I had it written down here somewhere. I had it written down here. I don't know. Here, Charles B. Griffith.
Charles B.
As the voice of Audrey Jr. And the screaming patient in The Dentist.
Ah, cool.
I won't say anything more.
Yeah, see, before Jack Nicholson got on and all that stuff, he was in the dentist's office screaming his liver out by running out the
and that guy who was a screaming patient ran out could have actually been Charles Griffith. Yeah. So he was not having a good time at the dentist. And
has anyone ever been having a good time at the dentist? I don't think so.
No. I've been a good dentist. Give me the painkillers. I've had one standing on my chest trying to get a tooth out once. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Those roots were stubborn, yeah. Anyway, irrespective.
I never had that problem.
Anyway, so we got that. We've done the rating. Yeah, it's rentable. Yeah. You get it on eBay, Amazon, blah, blah, all the good bits.
And as we said before, guys, do not confuse this with the newer one.
The newer version. But like I said, it's the little shop horror. There's a THC at the beginning of it, and it's 1960. There's no date. Remember, it's a Roger Corman production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever.
So that's about it from us, guys. You know where to find it, and let us know in the comments what you guys think of this movie.
It's a good, fun B-movie.
Yeah. And don't be disappointed if Jack Nicholson doesn't appear in all of it.
He's in a bit of it. Now, his bit is funny, but do not go to the toilet. You might miss it.
Exactly. Considering this movie is like an hour long.
How long is it? 72 minutes, an hour and 12 minutes. So it's not a longie.
It's not a longie.
But it's good. There's not too much padding in it.
Yeah, which is even good because most movies I hate when they overpad
Let's pad it out.
Although I would have loved it if there was a lot more horror suspense or more horror mystery in this production.
No, it's just a comedy, Sarah. Look.
I know it's a comedy, and everything, but it seemed to have more comedy than horror.
It's called comedy horror.
Yeah, and it seemed to be more focused on the florist and Seymour and less on the plant that's alive. And I would have loved a little bit more of a bigger reaction to you're alive, it's alive type of thing, like from Frankenstein.
That sounds like Marty. That was in Young Frankenstein.
Well, I'm only guessing. It would have been nice for that kind of reaction in that type of thing when you think about it.
Frankenstein and Young Frankenstein, a bit of overacting there.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my feeling behind it.
Do you want to say goodnight to these people now before you go to bed?
That's about it from us. It's a short review. So let us know in the comments what you guys think of this movie.
Actually, I would suggest that all you nice people out there in listening land, go on Wikipedia, have a look at Roger Corman and his filmography, and have a look at some of the movies he's actually made. You'd be surprised. He's done the horror. He's done the comedy. He's done dramas. He's done a lot of movies, and I was looking at it. He is still alive, and he's 97, I think.
Yeah, 97 or 96.
And he's still working. Mm-hmm. Hey, Roger, I know you probably won't hear this podcast, but if anybody who knows Roger hears this podcast, tell him that we think he is great. I don't care whether he's a humble man or not. I think he deserves a good pat in the back.
Let's give him a good hand, guys.
No, I think he's great. What he did for the film industry, maybe not lately, because obviously he's he's probably doing other things. But when he was doing all those movies, he did so many things and inspired so many people. And there's people who came on to his sets and worked with him, and they went on to make other movies and acted in other movies. He spurred on a lot of new people. Yeah. And it's guys like that, he inspired these people, and he's a great man.
Except for the one-offs, he did encourage the big mainstream actors to pursue a bigger line of film.
He did. So he was like, I wouldn't say a father figure, but he was a catalyst in their careers. Yeah. So he's a good man
to be had.
And so I'd sorely like to meet a man like that, but chances are I'll never meet him. So this is the closest I'm ever going to get to it. So if anybody knows him, tell him that I'm saying hello, and if he can do us an hello on Facebook,
will be nice.
Be really nice. Yeah.
Awful nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it from us all, guys. So be sure to check it out, the movie itself, and let us know in the comments what you guys think of it. Because we appreciate your opinion as much as you appreciate ours.
Yes.
So have a good week, guys, and I hope I see you guys next time on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. This is Sarah Stephenson
And Michael.
saying see you guys around, and see you guys next time.
Bye
for now.
guys.